what initially got you into web development? Like, you have such a deep focus on CSS and like browser specs and browser tooling. What led you down that path?
Yeah, so it was a love of visual art, a love of games. I mean, and it's like a classic '80s baby. I was building MySpace pages and customizing mine, customizing my bands. Um, but it mostly came down to like in school when I started going to school for computer science. I was in Java classes, PHP classes, SQL classes. I was learning about all these concepts, and then all of a sudden we came to Flash, and I noticed I was playing like a lot of Guitar Hero at the time. And Flash gave me this opportunity to not just make something functional, but to add all sorts of pizzazz. And I liked pizzazz because I was noticing that like when we built our Java applets that we ran on our console, all the other kids in the class were like, yay, it did the math. Look at my console. It's the right number. And I was like, you're happy with that? No one wants that. I mean, people will pay for it, I guess, but like no user wants that. Like, I don't want that. Do you want that? And so I would always go this extra mile to make it nice and to make it something visual. And I realized really quickly I was the weirdo. I was the weirdo in the room. Everyone else was like, yeah, dude, we're super happy. Yours is, it's cool or whatever. You could see it on their face. Like, we just don't care. And I was like, well, apparently I care. So I switched schools. I switched from intense computer science into intense design. And I went to design school and I learned all about typography. Like I would trace letters, like the whole classic typography thing. I was in there doing that. But at the same time I was taking art classes, I was at an agency building iPad apps. So that's like a lot of my weird two brains, everything coming together. All this has like been almost since the beginning. I was in Fireworks, the design tool, or Illustrator, while I was also in Dreamweaver and I was also in VRML. I just been that sort of like, I liked both. I want them to be visual and I wanted to understand how it worked. That's the cool part to me. And it kept on going. And eventually that led me to like wanting to enable others around me. I was like, hey, how come you're not doing this stuff? Isn't this fun? Look at me. I make a thing and then it's artful too. And they're like, I can't do that. I was like, let me help you. I'll make a tool. And like you talked about VisBug being sort of like one of the, well, it's pretty popular. Anyway, whatever. It got a lot of cool steam in it, and it helped me launch my career in a certain way at Google, which was nice. And the way that formed was I was on Google Cloud. I was a UX engineer. I was building prototypes for the next version of Google Cloud. So I was like really making these animated, awesome next gen prototypes. And then I was also helping the team work on the design system of Google Cloud. And when you sit down with a designer, they don't want complex things. They sit down and they're like, hey, the spacing right there is a little off. And you're like, it is off. Let's fix it. And they're like, I can't fix it. And you're like, you can with this tool I made. Because to them, like they'd see me open up DevTools and it's like the Lamborghini hood pops open and you're like, hey, don't be scared. Don't be scared. I know it's complex looking, but if you reach your hand right around that little part right there and you tweak just a little bit, you can change the color of the car. And the designers look at you and they're like, I'm not reaching my hand in the engine to change the car color. And that's when I was like, I think I can make this easier for people. What if there was DevTools for designers? What if there was a Photoshop looking toolbar that plopped on a page and just did the stuff they expected when they clicked and hit delete? And it started out just me trying to empower all these designers that had innocent requests. And they wanted to hack on production, man. They wanted to work on the actual product. Can you believe it? Instead of in their dreamland on an artboard, they wanted to work on production. And I was like, I want to help you. And so VisBug was a DevTools inspired tool for designers to go poke, inspect, tweak, and screenshot how it should be and send it over the fence, back over the fence to be like, hey, developers, I don't know how you're writing your CSS, SAS, or whatever. I don't care. But this padding is wrong. Fix it. I don't care if you use a variable, whatever. This is the value it should be. Do what it takes in the system. Mr. Systems, man. You like the systems. I like the colors, so here's the right color. You do the system. Anyway, and it's been really popular for a long time. No marketing, other than it like releasing under Google Labs, but completely organic growth. It has 200,000 something monthly active users right now. It's built entirely on web components. Everyone's like, web components can't do anything. And I'm like, psh. Okay, tell that to the Photoshop web experience. That's built on. Say that to iTunes. Say that to VisBug. It's a wildly capable component model. Just people don't like it. I think that's really where we're at. They're like, I like the thing I'm good at. You're like, I see what you're saying. You like JSX and stuff. Okay. Anyway, that was a long-winded thing, but yeah, VisBug was definitely born out of me I'm staying hybrid, wanting to enable people. And that's why I like to teach. That's how I got the job as DevRel at CSS on Chrome. I was like, hey, where's the CSS DevRel? You guys got like 6 JavaScript ones. And they were like, oh, you're right. I don't know why we don't have, hey, you do it. And I was like, nah, I'm not smart enough for that sort of thing. I just like make design tooly stuff. Anyway, I accepted it and I give things my all and gave it my all for 6 years until it ended. But I have a lot of fun things to say along the way. Yep.
So while you were at Google, did you actually work on the dev tools? Given that you'd like kind of done all this work on VisBug?
I did, yeah. So I started working with the DevTools team very directly. At first, it was implementing things from VisBug. I sat down with here's a story. Want a little background story? When I joined the Chrome team after VisBug was doing well, we were talking to the DevTools team about integrating VisBug and just having it be a button you click and it would just launch. And at first, the guy who led it, he's known to be a stickler. Like DevTools, and DevTools is written in vanilla JavaScript, by the way. I don't know if you know that. The whole thing from the ground up, always has been. I think now it's in TypeScript and maybe uses lit here and there. But y'all, that complex, the most complex app I think I've ever seen in my life, vanilla JavaScript. I'm just going to say that closer to the microphone so everyone can hear. Vanilla JavaScript can do really complex things, y'all. I don't know if you think it. I think you don't think it can. It can. Anyway, so it's vanilla JavaScript, and it was owned by like a small group of people that knew how it all worked. And they didn't like change. It's not because the code was, not solid. It was more like they knew that what they were balancing and juggling was state hell, right? Like they didn't own state, all sorts of things. They just had a stack of things against them and they didn't care. These folks powered through every single problem and always had a solution. Anyway, one day, sitting down with the dude and he's like, after he'd been telling me no for like weeks, he's like, dude, we can't do it. We can't just stick it in there. You stay as a Chrome extension. If it does well, we'll do other things, whatever. And then one day I show up next to him and he's like, hey, I did it. Took me 30 minutes last night. I put your tool, and my tool, the VisBug was no longer floating. It was to the other side. So DevTools opened up on the right-hand panel, VisBug showed up in the left-hand panel. And it was like a legit IDE vibe. You're like, I'm in a full-on designer DevTool thing. What's going on? Hey. And then that guy quit the next day. And it just never saw the light of day. It was just toast. The whole thing's toast. Another fun little story about that is back in the day, do you remember Fireworks, the design tool?
Before my time.
Okay, Macromedia. This is like early Flash days, Illustrator days. Everyone was in Illustrator, Photoshop, or Fireworks. They were the 3 main ones. And Fireworks was unique because it was vector bit or pixel vector. Shit, they had a cool word for, they were hybrid. You edited path data and exported pixels optionally. So it was a hybrid. You didn't have to pick between Illustrator or Photoshop. You could be both in one design tool. And honestly, it was awesome. It had states and slices and all this crap that was really helpful for us at the time. But a Fireworks file was a PNG. It's a PNG file. And so you'd open up a PNG and all of a sudden it had all this rich editing capability, just like a design file. So it wasn't a PSD, it was a PNG. Turns out a PNG can stash an n number of values into its metadata. And so a PNG and so you previewed it. It looked like a preview on your desktop. You could see the thumbnail, but if you opened it up, it was huge. It was like 60 megabytes. And then when you open it in Fireworks, all the layers and all the things all popped out. You could save, early days in Chrome, someone figured out you could save an entire web page into a PNG. And so it was theorized that VisBug could then just be a PNG editor and the browser would unpack and pack the file for you. So imagine Dropbox is cloud syncing your production site into PNGs. Designers edit PNGs and the PNGs go back up. There's like a sync engine. Ha! I never saw the light of day, but wouldn't that have been cool? For like somehow we had like a design file that was like bridging the gap between all of our workloads. Anyway, VisBug was very fun at exposing the sort of deltas between like what a developer tool is and what a designer tool should be. How do we unite these folks to work on the same product together? And ultimately, like I wanted designers who fight for the user. Like I said earlier, I fight for the user. I wanted user or designers there to fight for the users because developers are decent at it, but let's be honest, developers tend to fight for themselves more often than they fight for the user. It's my speed, my experience, DX. All I think about is DX. UX, yeah, that's part of it, right? I think I get that when I install Shad. There's UX there. Hey, I got a chuckle out of Andrew. That's nice. Anyway, That's just me ranting about VisBug stuff. But I'm proud of that tool. It's been really great.